Hey there, everybody. I was just getting ready to do a podcast, and I had a couple of kind of off the cuff and off the beaten path uh, things that I wanted to discuss that I really didn't want to put in the podcast, but that I thought would be relevant here. So this might not be a very long video, but I think it's important, at least to me. And ultimately, that's why I make videos. They're important to me. I really don't care if people don't find them useful, but I'm glad if people do find them useful. Because ultimately, we're all on our own, kind of figuring this shit out, you know? And in the spiritual world, if you will, of gurus and, Instagram yoga posts, it there's a whole world of enlightened spiritual kind of garbage out there, which, as a person who considers myself somewhat, I guess, spiritual would be the term to some, I do believe that there's a universal conscience, and I have my own, practices that I guess, in my mind, I think are important, but they mostly have to do with the psyche. But one of those is trying to figure out what I want to do with my life when I grow up. I mean, yeah, I'm 46 years old, and most people would assume when you're young that you figure out what you want to do, by the time you're in your 20s. And that's just not the case. And for some people who take college courses and end up spending a lot of money on learning something that they don't want to do, I do have empathy. I feel bad for folks who realize later that, that's not what they're interested in. And there are some jobs that you can do for years on end and be happy with because there's variety, say different people you encounter. But then there are other people who get into a field that just doesn't interest them. Even if they have a very prestigious field, they want to be a musician or something else. And that can be hard because you have to also make an income. And that's why it's the starving artist syndrome. It's not that artists can't make money, it's just that it's harder to make money unless you're in either the mainstream or you're willing to sacrifice quite a bit. And so I thought about this term of finding your path. Like I don't believe it's a real thing. I don't believe that people actually have a life path that they are born with. I don't believe it has anything to do with your birth date or numerology or any of that crap. I do believe that it has to do with what your passions are, but you have to find those. And so it takes work. The life path doesn't discover us. We have to manufacture it. It's not something that's born into us. So I wanted to compare it to a real path. So I thought, well, the only way to really analyze a metaphor is to ask yourself exactly what it means to have a path. So first off, if you want a life path, you have to figure out what paths are there, right? You have to do research, just like with a real path. If you want to go hiking a trail, you don't just drive up to the woods somewhere and just start walking through the woods. Although you can bushwhack, but you'll often get to places people already were, just spending a lot more time doing it. So, what kind of scenery do you like? What kind of a trail would you like to take? Through the snow, through the mountains? Do you like a higher view, or are you happy with just walking through a forest? What is the weather like on this path? What is the terrain like? How difficult is it to take this path? Are you jumping into something that's way beyond your means and ability? And even if so, that's fine. You can go for it. I mean, often we have to take big chances and risks, because we don't know what we're capable of. That's exactly how I feel building guitars now. Like, I've just finished my first couple guitars, and I was like, damn, looking back a couple of years, that was like unattainable, like something that would just take so much time. And it did, but I've done it. And so it's like, okay, the terrain was difficult, but I have a history of hiking these trails in a way because I've already done carpentry. So at least I had a little understanding of it. So it's different than jumping into something I've never touched at all. But still, that was a path that I took, and I had to take a chance. The next question would be, why are you going? Why are you hiking on this path at all? Why do you want to go? Where do you want to go? And it's funny because for the most part, people would answer with a very simple, I need to make money. And that's totally understandable. But I think that when we talk about past, this is different than career. This is something that moves you in your life that's beyond the norm of just standard work and income, something that you just really have a passion with, like I do with making videos for one reason or another. But it's funny because does it go anywhere, or is it just a loop trail? These kind of metaphors, they got me thinking about this, Is it just something that's going to circle back around to the beginning and you're going to want to start over and do something different? Is it something unique? Are you going on a trail that's not well worn? And so I think that the important thing here, and my message is to be a jack of all trades, master of none. Often what's left out of that is that the full slogan is jack of all trades, master of none, often is better than master of one. So it wasn't dismissing people who do a lot of different things, but rather saying it's often better to know a lot of different things. You might not be a full-blown electrician, but you know a little electrical, a little plumbing, a little carpentry. You might not be a full-blown guitar player, but you play a little guitar, bass, and drums. You can specialize in one thing, but there was I can't remember who the philosopher was. He said specialization is for insects. And that's always resonated with me. It's like, I think people want the pride of being able to master one path, have a path so well worn that they're considered the best at it. And I think that's good too, because it opens up competition, but it's not for me. I'd rather just walk several different paths, therefore getting a lot of different scenery, checking out many different types of terrain, and I'll take the loops and I'll take the direct paths. That's about all I got. Just wanted to talk about that. Talk to you next time. Be well.